everybody, welcome back to episode 5 of Not an Option podcast. The podcast is based on my life stories, business, personal, and life experiences of myself and other people I know in the industry. Try to talk every week about different topics and subjects. This week, we're going to be talking about flipping houses from an investor point of view and a contractor point of view, because I've done both. I've been the contractor for investors and I've been flipping houses for the last 22 years. So I've got a lot of experience with flipping houses and owning rental properties. We're going to talk about rental properties and investment properties on the next episode. But on this episode, we're going to talk about flipping properties, getting a fast return on your money. And I'm going to tell you tips and tricks on how to flip houses, things that have worked for me. Again, on these podcasts, I don't ever try to be the end all be all or the know it all. I just tell you what's worked for me or what successes I've had and failures I've had in my life. Take what you want from it. Please, like I tell you every week, smash that subscribe and like button. We want to keep this podcast going because not doing it is not an option. Smash that button. Also, one more time, here's my book, Not an Option, which this podcast is based off of. Available on Amazon. Like I said, every week, it's a good read. It talks about my life till I was 19 years old. Series 1, Series 2 will be coming out in the next few months. So you got to look up Not an Option by Frank Antonio on Amazon. Check it out. Let me know what you think of it. And let me know what you think of this podcast. You know, I want to keep doing it. I want to make this very successful. And I need your guys' help. Like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. All right, so let's get into flipping houses. Today, we're going to talk about what it takes to flip a house from an investor point of view and a contractor's point of view. We're going to go through the steps of finding a realtor, finding the right property, finding the right contractor, putting in the offers, setting up your closings, scheduling your walkthroughs, setting up your bids and proposals. We're going to go through the whole gauntlet of what's involved in flipping a house. It could be very profitable if you know what you're looking for and if you know what you're doing. Like I said, the key is finding the right property and finding the right contractor is huge. There's a ton of realtors out there. It's important to find off-market deals. If you can find properties that are not listed on the MLS and that everyone has picked through, and you can find off-market properties, you'll have a lot of success, because off-market properties are properties that are being sold by the homeowner or being sold by homeowner relatives or sold by banks that have lists of properties they're trying to get rid of that haven't been picked through by a ton of other investors or a ton of other people looking to buy a house. So off-market properties are huge. Not a lot of realtors have them. They call them also pocket listings. So if you can find a realtor that can get you pocket listings or off-market properties, go with those. Those are properties, again, that are not on the MLS, and those are huge. You can still find good deals on the MLS, but you're looking at 20 to 35% returns. Sometimes if you find off-market properties or properties like pocket listings, like I call them, you can get anywhere from 45 to 50% return. The return on your investment is great. You just need to know what you're looking for. We're going to go through that. So the first thing we're talking about is finding the right property. From an investor's point of view, you want to analyze the neighborhoods. You want to see the school districts. You want to see what the ARV is off of other properties that are selling, not what they're asking for the house. It's like eBay. You don't want to list your item based off what people are asking. People can ask the moon for shit, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it. You want to find out what houses have sold for in the last 3 to 6 months. The market changes like you change your underwear. It changes every single day. So you want to keep a close eye on what's sold recently. Second thing is the ARV. You want to make sure when you find out what they're selling for that your ARV puts you in a 70% rule. You don't want to spend more on that property that's going to be 70% of the ARV, including the purchase price and the rehab. So if you're going to do a $300,000 ARV, the rehab is going to be, let's say, $60,000. You don't want to spend more than $150, because 70% of $300,000 is $210,000. $150 for the purchase, $60 for the rehab. You're at $210. You got a 30% profit. You're making $90 grand. You got to pay your realtor, usually 5% out of that. You got holding costs, closing costs. If you're going to stage it, you got a lot of underlying costs that a lot of people don't account for when they're doing these. You always have to factor in your realtor costs, your closing costs, your holding costs. If you got to pay taxes, well, you got to pay taxes. Uncle Sam don't go nowhere. And whatever your loan amounts are, you got to factor all that in there. But when you factor in your profit, you want to factor in just the purchase price and the rehab price, and that should be 70% or less of the ARV. Okay, so make sure you stick with that number. That's an important number. That gives you the cushion you need in case there's some variables or some problems that occur. And I've been doing this 22 years, flipping, and 30 years of construction. There's always a problem. There's always an issue. It doesn't mean it's a bad problem. It's just part of the game. You learn to live with them, get past them, keep it moving. Don't sweat it. Don't get crazy about it. Just understand it's part of the process. Everything is fixable, and you're in this to make money, and you don't make money without a positive attitude. So keep that positive attitude and find those properties that are 70% of the ARV and the rehab cost. That's part one of this whole thing. One thing I need to talk to the investors about are lenders. When you find a lender, which is probably going to be a hard money lender or a private lender, you want to find someone that's going to invest in you for multiple deals down the road. Once you prove a track record that you know what you're doing, you're profitable, you pay them back on time, and your system makes money, you want someone that's going to fund multiple deals. Because doing one house is fun. Doing 2-3 houses at a time, that's amazing. That's when you're turning this into a real business. And that's when you're making real money. So find a good lender. You should always pay for hard money. You're looking at anywhere from 10 to 14% on the money. You're looking at 1 to 3 points, depending on your credit, depending on your experience. Don't let that scare you too much, because a lot of times people that are first getting into flipping houses have to take on partners, and a partner's 50% of your profit. So if you get a hard money lender, and let's say he's 12% and 2 points, and 2 points means he charges you 2% of the deal for doing the loan. So if you borrow $100,000, he's charging you $2,000, plus he's charging you a 12% interest rate. That's what 12% and 2 points mean. So you find an investor, he charges you 12% and 2 points on the deal. Don't let that scare you, because if that costs you 25-30% of your profit, that's still cheaper than having a partner. You don't have somebody else's input. You don't have to share your money. You don't have to share all the decision making. You're still the boss, and you're only giving up about 25-30% of your profit, but you're able to have the business you want. You're able to flip a house, but you want to make sure you get in with an investor that's going to fund multiple deals down the road. You don't want to be tied to one deal at a time, or you want to find multiple lenders that will invest with you, because the goal here is not to do one at a time. That's making okay money. If you want to make good money, if you want to have that life of success, and you want to be really big in the real estate game, you want to be able to do multiple properties at a time. To me, that's very important, because that's the difference of having to find properties that make 100 grand every time so you can live right, or you can do 2 or 3 properties at a time, and it's much more attainable to make 40 to 50 grand on a property and do 2 or 3 of them at a time, but you're still making 150,000 at that time. So multiple properties is the key to me in doing this down the road. Once you prove yourself, and you're not just proving yourself to the lender, once you prove yourself to yourself, you know, after you find that property that's 70% of the ARV after the rehab and repairs, now you want to get a contractor, and you want to get a good contractor. You don't want 2 guys with a bucket of tools off Craigslist. I know they might come in cheap and they might say the right things, but I promise you, in the end, I'm not going to speak for all the guys, but 99% of those guys are going to fuck you every time. You want to get at least 3 proposals from 3 different contractors, and you want those proposals detailed. You don't want one lump sum at the end of a proposal. You don't want it to say, we're going to do 5 paragraphs of shit, and then they give you one price. You want line item pricing. They don't have to give you labor and material, but you want line item pricing. You want to know what you're paying so you can compare the 3 quotes. Time is money in flipping. If you plan on the flip taking 6 to 12 weeks and it winds up taking 6 months because you hired the wrong contractor, you just fucked yourself. You might have thought you saved 10-20% on the proposal, but now you just cost yourself all those months of interest. You cost yourself all those headaches. You cost yourself all those days of people not showing up. Every excuse in the book, from their dog got a stub toe to a bladder infection to their grandma died 3 times and they can't make it. You get every damn excuse in the book, and that's how you know you got a bad contractor. But once you sign that contract and he opens up all those walls and he starts doing the work, now you feel you're stuck with him. So remember, be comfortable from the beginning on who you're going to be stuck with. With my company, we're huge on communication. We talk to you several times a day. We're available to you 7 days a week. We're always on call. We're always available through email, text, or phone calls. And if your contractor is not like that, he's probably not a good contractor. Now, you have to respect boundaries. You shouldn't be calling him 7 days a week for non-emergencies. You shouldn't be calling him past certain times at night, and you need to structure that with your contractor, appropriate times for stuff, because this is your baby. This is your investment. This is something very important to you. That contractor might have 10 other jobs going on, but your job is the most important job to you. So that contractor has to make you feel like that job is the most important job to him, but you need to set boundaries. And I'm telling you that from the contractor's point of view and the investors, because I've been on both sides. The investor sees something, stops by the house at different times to show their friends and family the progress. You might stop by on a Saturday night or a Sunday when the contractor's not working. Just because you see something wrong on Sunday, if it's not a pipe burst or electrical problem that can cause a fire, you don't need to call that contractor on that Sunday. Wait, call him on Monday, make a full list, be professional. Both ends need to be professional in flipping a house, the investor and the contractor. It's very important for a good working relationship. And when you find that good contractor, maybe his price ain't the lowest, maybe his price isn't the highest, but if his price is somewhere in the middle and he's giving you that quality and that care and that comfort, keep him. You could still get other proposals, or you could still do that, something that you can compare him to and tell him, look, I got another price. Is it possible to save me a little bit of money? But one thing from being on both sides that I hate is, say you have 30% profit margins and you're gonna make 100 grand on your flip, and your contractor comes in 10,000 more than the other contractor, and you're trying to make 110,000. Now you still can make your 100 grand with your good contractor that you have faith in, but you try to beat him down for that other 10 grand, so now you can make 110 grand. Well, to me, that's bullshit. You're trying to take advantage of the deal. Don't do that, because he needs to eat. He needs to feed his family. He needs to feed his guys. He needs to pay his bills. And that 10 grand on a $60,000 rehab, he's got labor, material, overhead costs. By you trying to beat him out of that 10 grand makes your job not that appealing to him. Now your job doesn't go to his high priority list. And it's important. If you're comfortable making that 30%, that 100 grand, don't be greedy. Make your 100 grand. Let him make that other 10 grand to pay his bills, but keep your job a high priority to him. And you got to understand these things. I deal with this every day on both ends. One thing I don't do is beat my contractors down when I'm the investor. I take care of my guys because they get it done quickly, and they get it done where I don't have to babysit them. And that's important in this business. So now you pick the contractor. One thing I do, and I'm an investor and a contractor, for $300 to $400, I hire a home inspector. Everybody's like, why the fuck do you hire a home inspector? You've been a GC for 30 years. Because a home inspector for $300, $400 goes up there, he crawls around the attic, he crawls around the crawl space, he goes on the roof, he checks all the water pressure, he checks all the outlets and switches, he does all the necessities and the little variables that can make or break a deal. So now you got, for $300, $400, after you got the house under contract, now you have a full 5 to 10 page list of items that are either necessities that need to be done, or things that need to be addressed in the near future, or things long-term that may need to be addressed. But you have more information, you have more power. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge and information you have, the more power. So everyone's like, where's that money coming out of for the $300, $400 I gotta pay the home inspector? What's the sense of hiring a GC? Second opinions. I'm a GC. I know a lot about construction. I can handle most problems over the phone or on a FaceTime call. I've done every aspect of construction. What I'm telling you is, now you got a second opinion, a second set of eyeballs on the house, a knowledgeable guy, a guy that you're paying. If he misses something, you can actually go after him if he didn't catch that the furnace was bad or the AC was bad. He's got insurance against that, not some GC that you're asking to walk the house in 30 minutes and give you a price. So get a home inspector. Find a home inspector, get in with one. They're usually about $300 to $400, and they give you a full report within 24 hours. Very important. I highly recommend doing that. If you don't take any other advice I give you, take that. And I still do it to this day. I hire them. So now you hired a home inspector, you have your bids from your 3 GCs, you want to pay attention to certain things. Now there's certain variables that affect a flip. Now, if you're a 100% cash buyer, or you have hard money where they're going to give you cash to close the deal, and you're not going through a bank, you can look for houses with mold. You can look for houses with slight foundation cracks. You can look for houses that have roof leaks and water damage, because in this business, mold is gold. The more house houses you can find that a homeowner can't purchase and just do a carpet and flooring and patch and paint job to, the better price you can get. If you can do a cash deal with a quick close, you can get better deals on houses with mold, with window leaks, with roof leak, with slight foundation cracks. If you're going through a bank and the house is not livable, they won't allow you to bid on those houses. So you're out of those houses. So now you really got to do your homework and crunch your numbers. If you got a cash deal or if you got a hard money lender, you can go after houses with problems. But make sure the problems are manageable based on your knowledge. I can take a house where the foundation wall is completely falling apart because I know I have the guys, the manpower, and the knowledge to fix that and save money. You can't most of the time. That should scare you. If the house has mold, make sure you talk to mold remediation companies. Make sure you talk to your GC, and if he has a mold remediation company that he works with. You want to make sure that whatever you take on, you feel comfortable handling, or you feel comfortable that your GC is handling, because your GC is now going to be kind of like your partner. You have to trust him. You should not micromanage him. You're hiring him as a GC so you don't have to be there all day, every day, standing over the guy's shoulders. Let me tell you, from the contractor's point of view, we fucking hate that. You drive us nuts. But you can pop in on your house whenever you want. That's your house. You can show up whenever you want. You can talk to the owner or the project manager about whatever you need to. But one thing you should never do is talk to the guys. Don't discuss problems with the guys. Definitely don't ask the guys to do extra work while they're there without getting paid for it. That just pisses everybody off. Be respectful, be professional, be your contractor's partner. And as the contractor, be respectful, be accessible to the investor. When they call you, if you can't talk right then and there, it takes 2 seconds to shoot them a text. I'll call you in 10 minutes. I'll call you in 2 hours. I'll call you tomorrow. Send them a message. Pick up the phone and call them. Communicate. I can't stress communication enough. You can fuck up 100 things on a house, but if you're communicating with that person and letting them know that you're on top of it, they'll love you. You can do 99% of this shit right, but fuck up the paint job, and if you don't communicate, that person's gonna hate you and not refer you to anybody. And in this business, referrals are everything. Remember that. It's all about word of mouth. I have never once advertised in 28 years of owning my company one time. I've never advertised. All my business for 28 years has been word of mouth. And you could look up my companies. You'll never see an advertisement. I ain't do the Angie list. I ain't do this bullshit, that bullshit. I don't do all that. It's word of mouth, and I stay busy. So now you got your 70% rule. You got your detailed bid. You found the contractor that communicates with you, has a good price, is in your 70% rule, and you're comfortable with them. Now we're gonna move on to rehabbing the house. When you rehab the house, you've assessed all the major issues. If there's electrical, if there's plumbing, you have your list of items that the house needs from the property inspector. So now you had his set of eyes on the house, plus the 3 bids from the contractors that looked at it and give you different items that they think it needs. So now you should have all the information you need to rehab the house. You picked your contractor, you're ready to roll. Rehab flip should take anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks, maximum 16 weeks, and that's high. They should be like 12 weeks, but depending on if you need permits, and get your permits if you need permits, because you're gonna need them when you close to show the new homeowner. Depending on if you need a mold remediation, if you need a roof, you gotta make sure you have all those ducks in a row. Pull all your permits, you gotta set up inspections and all that stuff. And it should generally cost you between $50 and $80 a foot, depending on how high you go with the finishes. And I'll talk about that in a second with the finishes. That includes appliances, that price. That includes your flooring. That includes your bathroom full gut rehab. That includes a whole new kitchen with kitchen cabinets. That includes all the patch, the paint on the walls. That includes painting the outside, those prices. You should fall into that dollar amount per square foot. That's very important to remember those numbers, because it really affects your budget. And it helps you know when you walk into a house, if you're gonna go with like contractor grade or above contractor grade finishes in the house, I'd figure $50 to $60 a foot. So if you got a 2,000 square foot house, you're figuring right around 100 to 120,000 if it needs the bathrooms remodeled, if it needs the kitchen with all new cabinetry, if it needs flooring, painting, the outside painted. That's a good rule of thumb. If you don't need bathrooms remodeled, if you don't need the kitchen remodeled, you can figure as low as $30 a foot. But I promise you, most houses that you're looking at at are gonna be older, or they're gonna have water damage, or they're gonna have roof leaks. There's gonna be something that's gonna cause it to need some major repairs. So a good rule of thumb is right around $50 a foot. Depending on the ARV, if your ARV is between $200 and $500 to $600,000, $50 to $60 a foot is a good ARV to get those types of finishes that sell. And that's a good price point to try to stick in for all you new investors, because those are houses that can get approved for FHA loan. And that's your biggest buyer pool. Your biggest buyer pool are gonna be people that can get approved for FHA loan. That opens you up to 85% of the people looking for houses right now. Right now, you're looking at 85% of the people looking for houses are approved in that price range somehow for an FHA approved mortgage. Once you get into the $800,000, $1 million, $2 million homes, your buyer pool shrinks to 5 to 10% of the buyer pool. So it's a whole different ball game. That's where you're into the $80, $100 a foot rehabs, because you got to put all the nice appliances, you got to put the nice fixtures, the nice plumbing fixtures, the nice lighting. You know, you go from a $150 light to a $2,000 chandelier, and that's more for the seasoned investors. So my opinion is buy the houses and stick with the ARVs to be under $600,000. You'll have a huge buyer pool. A sweet spot for me is an ARV of around $400,000 to $500,000. That's where I feel is the biggest market for buyers right now. So you got your ARV, you're in the FHA approved range, you're in the $500,000 and under, let's say, price range. You know it's gonna cost you about $50 to $60 a foot to rehab it. Now you wanna talk about your finishes. Spend your money on your kitchens and your bathroom. Tile is cheap. Drywall, wall repair is cheap. Painting is cheap. You can save money there. The tile labor is not cheap. So you can find an inexpensive tile, but you gotta get a good tile guy, because believe it or not, whether you put a $2,000 chandelier in a $500,000 house, whether you put a $6,000 front door on it, they don't care. It's not gonna sell the house. If you paint the outside a nice color that pops, if you finish the inside with nice flooring that pops, and you can get flooring for $2, $3 a foot. A lot of people are going with LVP. If you're in different areas, you can go carpet, LVP, you can go hardwood. It all depends on your market. You know, back in like the Midwest, a lot of people go with hardwood or carpet. Here down in Florida, a lot of people go with LVP or tile, not a lot of carpet. LVP is pretty cheap. Carpet's a little bit more expensive. It's like 2.5 times the price of LVP. LVP stands for luxury vinyl plank flooring. It's a very inexpensive cost that you have thousands of different selections, and the flooring, remember this, the flooring, the kitchens, the bathrooms, and the master suites sell the house. So spend your money in those areas. Don't blow your money on expensive finishes that are not gonna be necessary to a homeowner. You know, you don't have to put the $2,000 kitchen faucet in there. They don't care. As long as they have a nice kitchen faucet, all the faucets in the house match in color, all the hardware matches. You don't have to put a $6,000 front door on the house. If you put a $1,200 front door, a $2,000 front door, as long as it looks nice, you shop around, you can find deals on doors. You don't have to put the most expensive flooring down. If you find a flooring that looks nice that goes with your paint scheme, that's gonna sell the house. Spend your money where you need to. Don't overspend on unnecessary items. You're not living there. This is an investment. Don't fall in love with this house. You're not living there. You're trying to make money. The only way you're gonna make money is by not falling in love with the purchase. If you start falling in love with the house, you're gonna have problems. And another thing I can tell you, I kind of missed in the first section, is if you got two houses you're choosing from and one has a great layout, the bathrooms are close to the bedrooms, it has a master suite, the closets are bigger, it has a good sized kitchen, it has a nice layout, or you have another house that's like $20,000 cheaper, so let's say 20% or 30% cheaper, for about the same square footage and not the best area or something like that, spend the more money. You're gonna make it up on the back end. The house with the better layout, the more curb appeal, is gonna sell faster. You might think, oh, I'm getting a better deal on this house. It's the same square footage, it's this, it's that, but the school district isn't as good. The layout isn't as good. If you're seeing all that now when you're buying the house, when you go to sell the house, the fucking people are gonna see it. They're gonna notice the same shit you see. They're gonna see that the school district sucks. They're gonna see that they gotta walk 100 yards to go take a shower every morning. They're gonna see that the closets are small. So the stuff you notice right now, remember, when you go to sell the house, they're gonna notice the same thing, and you're selling it for a premium. So go spend a little bit extra money, get the good contractor, make it nice, do the curb appeal, and your house will sell for the amount you need it to. I promise you that. As long as the market's good, the interest rates are decent, your house will sell. All right, now you purchased your house, you rehabbed your house, you found the contractor you like, you're communicating with him, you're not micromanaging his guys. Project's going well. Now comes to the end of the project. You want to do your punch list. How I structure my contracts are, so you do the contracts correctly, is the contractor needs to get a percentage down. It should never be 50%. I usually get 30 to 35% down. I do bi-weekly draws. I give him a check every 2 weeks, a payment based on production. We walk the house. He tells me what he has done. We walk the house together. I see what he has done. I pay him accordingly. He said that 100% of the flooring is done for $1,000. I walk through the house with him before I pay him, and I see only 70% of the flooring is done. He's only getting $700, not $1,000. He's getting 70%. So you pay him accordingly. And I always hold back 5 to 10% till after the first punch list is done. Now this is important for the investors and the contractor. From the contractor's point of view, I always put in my contract, I only do one punch list before I get paid my money. I'll do as many punch lists as you want to get the house perfect, because I don't leave a house until the customer is 1,000% happy. But I'm not doing 10 punch lists because you forgot to put something on every other punch list before you pay me my final money. I will do the house, I'll take my bi-weekly payments. On the end, I hold back 5 or 10%. I give you a chance to walk the house with me. You make one big punch list. Once you make that one big punch list and I complete the punch list, then I get my 5 or 10%. Are we done? No. We're not done. I have a warranty now with you for at least 1 year for all the work I did. I have a responsibility to you to make sure you're 100% happy for all the work I did. So if there's more things added to another punch list that are in reason, of course I get them done. If there's stuff that I touched and I did and we worked on, yeah, we're gonna fix them and make sure you're 100% happy before we leave that house. And if you're a good contractor, you better fucking do that. Don't be a shithead. Don't be a scumbag. Don't rip people off. Make sure you make them happy, because that's how you get word of mouth business. That's how you get more houses. That's how you get more customers. Remember, a customer is only your customer on the first job. You want to make them a client. A client does multiple jobs with you. You don't want customers, you want clients. Remember that when you're doing these houses. So you got the punch list done, you got paid. Now you got your responsibility. You should have also asked the contractor before this point, but I'm going to say it now, if he does maintenance calls or emergency service calls. Because while that house is for sale, if something goes wrong, you want to have a contractor that you know you can rely on the call, because you turn down all the other contractors. You're not in the contracting business, so you don't have a book of people to come out and help you. That contractor has references and referrals for plumbers, electricians, guys to help with the roof, this and that. So you want to make sure that the contractor you pick is available to you if you need him for an emergency service call, because that's pretty important. That shouldn't make or break the deal, but that should be an added bonus if he is, because you're going to need that once in a while, whether it's on your own home, whether it's on the house you're flipping. It's good to have a guy for emergency calls. You always run into something. So we bought the house, we fixed the house. Now it's time to sell the house. You want to price the house accordingly with the market. You want to try to stay 2% under the market. If you're within your price range, everything came in on budget, you had only a few little problems. Maybe when you did the demo of the house, after the house was opened up, you should have walked through it again with the contractor to see if there was anything else found, because that's when the majority of the change orders are found, is right after the demo. So now you found whatever change orders, you got all those taken care of, and you're still on budget. Or you're just a little bit over your budget, but you're still making a profit. Now you want to sell the house. You want to find a realtor that not only markets very well, but they have different things you can do. You can pay the money to stage a house, which I don't like. A lot of people like staging a house. I think it's an unnecessary expense. What I do is I find photographers that can stage the house through the photos. Yes, there's photographers out there that can actually stage your house. And with AI, I'm sure that everybody can fucking do it now. You can stage your house with photos. You can show what a bedroom looks like on the photos with the king size bed in there. You can show with the photos what this room looks like with a couch and a TV on the wall. But when they walk in the house to come look at it, they can see how big, open, the beautiful work you did without furniture cluttering it up. Because if they have their own furniture, which they probably are, they're not going to want to see your taste or your furniture or what you staged it with. Off the photos, they can see what the house looks like with furniture. And then when they walk in the house, they can see the big, beautiful house, and they can see the quality and the beauty of your work. So I highly recommend finding photographers that can photo stage houses. Remember, the investor's role is to make money. Emotions kill deals, kill profit. Don't fall in love with the property. Don't fall in love like you're gonna live in it. Use it as an investment. To recap, we've went over everything. If you have any questions, please look me up on social media. Rubicon Services, SWFL is my website. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. Ask me any questions, contact me. If you're looking to invest in properties, give me a call. I always have different properties available. If you're an investor looking for a contractor down in Florida, give me a call. I have tons of guys available to do the work. We have all the license and insurance to pull any permits we need. Give us a call. We'll take good care of you. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Not an Option podcast. Like I said again, smash that subscribe and like button. If you liked what I said and you enjoyed what you heard, share this with your friends. I really need to grow this podcast, and the only people that can help me grow this podcast are you. Fucking hit that button. Help me out here. Let's go. Next week, we're going to talk about more investment properties. We're going to talk about rentals. Rentals are good income. It's good to make money while you're sleeping. Flips are good for quick, fast income. You know, rentals are income that comes every month. For as long as you own that property and you have it rented, you're making money. So we're going to talk about rental properties, and that should be the goal. To not only be flipping, I always like flipping. Flipping's my passion. I love it. That's my favorite thing in the world to do out of construction. Anything with flipping my own stuff, I love it. But you should also be looking for rental properties. Rental properties, like Warren Buffett said, that's how you make money while you're sleeping. And if you're making money while you're sleeping, you're successful. You're going to be wealthy. And you don't want to just be rich. You want to be wealthy. Listen next week. We're going to talk about investment properties. We're going to talk about rental income, rental properties. Thank you for listening. Man, it's great having you guys here. I love doing this. Smash and hit that subscribe and like button. And remember, failure is not an option.